Over the last decade, sparkling wine has reversed course and gone from being a celebratory drink to something enjoyed every day. The versatility that comes with being an every occasion wine mirrors the versatility of foods that can also accompany sparkling wines due to their palate cleansing acidity. And let's not forget that sparkling wines don't just need to be enjoyed on their own, but can also be mixed into a cocktail, even by simply adding a splash of OJ to go with brunch. In this video, we're going to review the differences between the two main types of sparkling wines, those fermented in tank and those fermented in bottle. Let's start with tank fermented wines. Sparklers that are fruitier and oftentimes slightly less dry, that's wine speak for a touch of sweetness, are often tank fermented under pressure to trap the bubbles. The wines see less aging on the yeast sediment, which would make them toasty and a bit like fresh brioche bread. This keeps the bright fruit flavors front and center, and that touch of sweetness is there to balance the acidity in the wine and keep you coming back for more. On labels, you'll see variations on this process referred to as Charmat Method, Cuvée Close, Metodo Italiano, Martinotti Method, and more. The most representative of these wines comes from Italy and is called Prosecco. It can be a white and now a rosé. Lazzara Bianco Secco is a Charmat Method sparkler from the Speck brothers in Ontario. Like its Italian cousin Prosecco, Lazzara is a fruit-driven sparkler, but instead of being made from the Glera grape, it draws heavily on early-picked Chardonnay and Riesling. These grapes bring a balance similar to Glera, but with an Ontario twist by making a wine that is a bit more framed than the generally softer Proseccos. Perhaps this is also reflected in its Art Deco-inspired label. The wine is named after our great-grandmother, Giulia Lazzara, one of our Italian immigrant ancestors to New York, whose family were involved in building the first skyscrapers there. In contrast to the Charmat method, fermenting in individual bottles to capture the bubbles is an older process for making sparkling wine. This is the process used in the Champagne region of France to produce the eponymous Champagne. It is also the method used in other regions to produce wines that are commonly labeled traditional method. Several such places and style names are Cremant in France, Cava in Spain, Italian Metodo Classico, for example Franciacorta, and of course Niagara, which is becoming a beacon of sparkling wine production. Cuvée Catherine is a premium sparkling wine from Henry of Pelham in Niagara. Following a long tradition in the world of sparkling wines, it is named in memory of our family's founding matriarch and widow, Catherine Smith, wife to Henry of Pelham. Like many great sparkling wines, these great women of wine were the first to put their names on the labels. The word veuve means widow and adorns more than one great sparkling wine brand from Champagne and beyond. In Niagara, most sparkling wines follow the traditional method, whereby subdued Chardonnay and fruity Pinot Noir are hand-picked to avoid any bruising or imperfections, then press fractioned to keep the finest cut of the juice that is then fermented into a still wine. To obtain consistency across years, a blend or cuvée is made from a mixture of older reserve wines and the new vintage. This cuvée is re-fermented in bottle in order to capture the bubbles, but also to allow for long aging on the yeast sediment called the lees. This adds that brioche bread quality we seek to avoid in Charmat method wines. Typically a bit drier as well, the complexity of flavor found in traditional method wines is very much a factor of time and shows itself only after at least 12 months aging in the bottle and at a greater level of character as it approaches as much as 100 months or more. What primarily differentiates Champagne from traditional method sparkling is the name of the appellation, Champagne. But Champagne is also the perfect place to grow Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier for early picking. The chalky soils of Champagne lead to fruit with great restraint, perhaps the reason why so much of Champagne rests on the fruitiness derived from the Pinot varieties. With that being said, the ageability of Champagne relies heavily on the work of Chardonnay, a grape that takes aging well and is a defining characteristic of Taittinger Champagne, a wine with a high proportion of this grape in the blend. While Champagne allows for 14 months of aging as a minimum, the high percentage of Chardonnay and a minimum aging of 3 years in cellar distinguishes Taittinger as a great value in this premium category. Whatever the occasion, sparkling wines are unique for being alive in the glass, and it's perhaps this vitality that most defines them and suggests life, joy, and youth. Cheers!